So that's the part that is incorrect in this, and I shared that with the
It's all in the state's hands.
It's all the Board of Benefits and Pensions, that's correct.
Yeah, he can keep his job no matter what.
Right.
He does not, and they gave the indication in that article that he would be losing, he could possibly lose his job. It has nothing to do with us. He can keep his job, it's the pension. Whether he can...
I thought we can, same thing with whether you could be
Right, I
on Social Security.
I was a Social Security recipient when I came in, and I had a choice. I could stay in the job and I got less Social Security, or I could leave the job and not run for it.
Right.
So I elected to run for it and get less money. Okay, thank you very much for that. But I would like the citizens of the town of Goshen to know what the real story is. The next item is the Altry tax fiduciary litigation. We've been talking in executive session for weeks and months about the potential of litigating a tax fiduciary situation with Altry landfill. And we've been unable to resolve it up until now in negotiations. So today, it commenced litigation in court. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dennis, and maybe he can give the press and the citizens kind of an overview of what's transpiring.
What's transpired so far is the case started this morning in front of Judge David Ritter, and who's testified so far is an engineer, environmental compliance officer for Turing, Anthony Russo, who laid the foundation for their petition. And then they also put on for direct examination and cross today a fellow by the name of MacDonald, Maine, M-A-I-N, out of Atlanta, Georgia, who was their real estate appraiser. And at this point, there's approximately 50-plus exhibits admitted into evidence on both sides. And the testimony will continue tomorrow from our appraiser, Coyle, out of Philadelphia. And Dean, the petitioner's attorney, intends to call one or two county employees, one of which is McCary, who's the head of the real property section, just to establish that at one point in time, the county had begun what they call an in rem, REM, foreclosure proceeding to take the property for non-payment of taxes, like you would do with any other property owner. Like Petaluma Dump years ago in Warwick, before it did strike down and take, the county thought better of it in terms of potential liability as far as the maintenance, upkeep, and remediation work of the landfill. So they backed away from taking it in foreclosure. And McCary was instrumental in that, having looked at the property and telling the county, you don't want to do that. So we think they're putting him on the stand just to establish one of their arguments, that the property has no value because it's a closed facility and the permit has been revoked. So that should go fairly quickly tomorrow. I expect unless they redirect on their real estate expert in the morning, Coyle for us to put our appraisal theory in tomorrow. And I tend to think, knowing how Ritter wants to move the calendar, that he'll possibly try and wind it up tomorrow with closing statements and request we brief various legal issues. Yeah, I know George was there today, Doug was there today, and Phil at various times, so they had some flavor of what's going on and how the case was going in.
It's supposed to be a week or two. Looks like it's okay.
Yeah, it's a reasonable amount. I never thought it'd be a week. I thought it'd be 3 days. It's going to go 2. Bean thought it was going to go 5. But Bean was, again, my own personal analysis, but is very methodical and was putting in a lot of material, which Ritter procedurally, as a judge, is like, look, you don't have to do that. It's already in your papers. You don't have to tell me what's in your papers. Just submit it. That attitude. And today we had a lot of that where he was getting very impatient, wanted the case moved along, you've made your points, don't beat a dead horse, things of that nature. And so the attorneys have all gotten the message that he wants it in as quickly as possible, and then he'll decide on the merits, if you will, of 2 appraisals. The appraisals, ours is 8 volumes of appraisal work. It's probably 3,000 or 4,000 pages. Turry's is much less than that. I would say it's in the neighborhood of maybe 800 pages. And the exhibits, although number in the thousands of pages. So, not that you weigh these cases based upon submissions, but there's a lot of detailed submissions already been made and accepted in evidence. And those of you who were there today saw how technical perhaps these cases are. I mean, they are really dry and they're very technical. And today we had a long dissertation, cross-examination, if you will, with the petitioner's expert, because he, being from Atlanta, Georgia, acknowledged on the stand that he was not an attorney, and that he, although he was familiar with a particular case called Allied out of upstate New York, he was not an attorney, and, didn't necessarily interpret it as an attorney. They are proceeding on what they call the income approach. And he testified on the stand today, as I think Phil witnessed, that when the permit for Turry expired, was terminated, and or the capacity was reached, the effective value of the landfill actually ceased. He would not say as much, but he indicated that it had no value after the permit was expired. Whereas our theory is, under the Allied case, that it's a special use facility, and you've got to use the cost approach in terms of the cost they have in the property, in terms of liners, leachate, machinery, etc. And that case is rather clear. The Court of Appeals in the state of New York in 1992 set out exactly what procedures you need to follow in order to value a landfill in the state of New York. And their expert argued that was not the case, that he did not necessarily, was not bound to follow New York precedent, and that he was of national expertise. And he cited a particular royalty method which is employed in the state of Kansas. And no disrespect to Kansas, but...
why didn't they want the one guy in front of Kansas?
I guess...
In Kansas is the headquarters of one of the appraisal
also true.
Organizations that, the professional, like the Association of Towns.
Exactly.
If it's in Albany, well, so they referred to Kansas. It was like only Dorothy.
Yeah. I was tempted to use that comment.
Yeah.
We're in Kansas anymore, Toto.
Yeah.
But so tomorrow, Coyle, who you have not met, I think Phil has. Phil and Coyle.
Yes.
Coyle, who's our expert appraiser, is not a wilting flower by any means. I expect it to be a little emotional, maybe a little extreme tomorrow, because a great deal of time was spent after you left today, Doug, on cross-examination of the expert in terms of his methodology and where he...
Well, I got me 30, so I saw about an hour.
You saw some of it, okay. He got more and more and more argumentative, non-responsive, felt he was being personally attacked, reputation and otherwise, and he became really extreme in his positions. Him basically taking the position, logical or illogical, that for valuation purposes, when the permit expired and the capacity was used up, there was no further value.
Right, I heard him say it a few times.
Yeah. And that's just in a nutshell, a summary report.
Now, is Coyle going to be on the first thing in the morning?
No, I would expect him at the earliest to be on 11 or right after lunch.
Right.
Okay.
Bean is going to call tomorrow.
Yeah, we talked to him in the parking lot, and Bean indicated the two witnesses he was going to call, certainly McCary and possibly another county employee. Now, I can't imagine who the other county employee would be, but he indicated also that it would be very, very brief. In fact, it would involve minutes, and we are not necessarily in contesting any aspect of the county's participation. So I think that'll go fairly quick.
Well, just by the fact that they're in default, I think if they win and get money, they just walk away and not pay any of the taxes that are due, or not pay any taxes that are due.
Yeah, because the county's not going to foreclose on that
property. They're not going to foreclose, and nobody's going to pay the tax on it.
I know.
They're not going to pay the tax. And they say, take the property.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think if they win money and want money from us, they're going to do the same thing. They're just going to hang the county up.
Very possible. It's a catch-22. You got to remember, I think some of you, George probably does when he was mayor, Petaluma Dump in Warwick. What happened there was, again, the property owner didn't pay the taxes. The town struck it down through a county tax sale, took title to it, and they inherited the cleanup, okay, because you're the owner. The county started along that route with this property. change their mind and now will not strike the title down in an in-rem foreclosure tax proceeding. So on that basis, the town has no obligation to do it either. So it's a very distinct possibility.
But if they walk away, I'm sorry,
No.
a little bit better. If they walk away and they don't do cleanup, they have a bond.
They do.
That's not gonna cover.
They won't pay.